today. As many of you know, 2 weeks ago, I think it's been 2 weeks. It wasn't last week. It was 2 weeks ago. Our church had a very, very monumental occasion in which 15 members joined the Coptic church from different backgrounds, from different ages, from different experiences in life. And it was God that brought them here to the Coptic church and specifically to St. Mark's. And so we are so rejoiced that God has added to our family, that we have new members in our family that we can learn from and grow with together. And so let's give them first a big hand, welcome them to our family. I want you to know something. Heaven rejoices greatly over new members in his church. Like the heavens are always dancing at baptisms. Baptisms are the greatest joy in the kingdom of heaven. All of the angels and saints, of course, the Lord himself at the forefront is greatly joyed at this. And so we have different people coming from different backgrounds. And so we will let Abuna Elijah. Abuna Elijah has a podcast. He knows exactly how to run these things. He's our famous guy. So Abuna Elijah is going to lead us in this.
Okay, first off, super excited to finally get all of you on the stage together in order for us to have a conversation together. I want to give everybody an opportunity to get to know you all, so we'll let you all introduce yourselves. This is just a small subsection of the people that were baptized, and some of them were baptized in prior cohorts that we had. But really the purpose of this conversation is for us. We've been doing this series for the last few weeks called Intentionally Orthodox. Most of us in this room are cradle Copts. Most of us have been born and raised. These beautiful folks, with the exception of Matthew here, these beautiful folks, not the beautiful part.
He's still beautiful.
He is beautiful. These beautiful folks have joined the church, elected to be part of this community, and I think all of you may be asking the question, why? Like, what is it about our church that drew you to our community? And we'd love to just hear your story. So what I want to do is I want to give each of you an opportunity just to introduce yourself, so your name, and how long you actually have been attending this church.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Joshua, and I've been coming ever since, I'd say, late May.
Okay.
And,
Hi, my name is Adam. I've been coming pretty regularly since probably about February, but I got introduced to the church October or so last year.
Many years.
My name's Jacob, and we've been coming, I think our first text exchange was January.
My name's Caitlin. Same. I'm married to him.
My name is Talia Parvizi, and I've been coming for about a year now.
Okay, good. So I want to first open up the floor to Matthew for a few minutes. I want to give you all a briefing of what all these people have gone through over the last period of time, like what their process was in order for them to join the church. So Matt, what was the journey that these folks embarked on, and how much commitment was required? And how do you, as Matt, by the way, is part of the catechism team, he and two other servants in our church lead these beautiful folks into the faith by weekly meeting with them, sharing with them, instructing them. So, by the way, the priests do nothing. We have amazing servants in our church, and big thanks to the work that Matthew and Deacon Emmanuel and Mina Ruiz have been doing in this church to welcome new members. So God bless you all. I just wanted to give that caveat.
So, thank you, Abuna. But all glory, genuinely, and I mean this sincerely, all glory and all thanksgiving go to God, because he's the one who starts this process. And I just want for a moment us to try to appreciate what it would be if you grow up one way, believing one set of beliefs, doing a certain set of actions, being in the same community, and then one day having all of that challenged, right? And challenged on such a visceral and personal level that you are moved to actually go and find out, is what I've been living not right? What is it that I've been living, and is there something other than? That's a big deal. That is not small. Again, we take it for granted being cradle Orthodox, right? We grow up, we feel founded in this. Many of us, some of us, we have moments of challenge in our lives, but to actually be confronted with this idea that there is something other than the way that I've been living that is out there for me to have. And I think there's two things that has pushed most of the people that have come through the class. And the reason I'm talking about this is because what I've seen by people who come to the class, God is working in them in such beautiful and unique ways, right? And one person who came from a previous cohort once told me, he's like, what do I do with this life that I've lived before? And I said, that life that you lived before is exactly the life you needed to live so that Christ can work in you to get you to this point.
Yeah.
Right? So this ministry happens well before anybody ever walks in the door, and it starts by God himself. And so genuinely, I think that acknowledgement needs to be made. I could tell you without a shadow of a doubt, some people have seen the Lord Jesus Christ. Some people have seen him and he's visited them. Some people have felt moved by members of the church who they met in their workplace or in their school, and they say something's different about that person, right? And so in the conversations that I've had, in the grace that God has given me to be in this ministry, it's really made me focus on two things that I think we have to focus on for the people who are coming in. One is truth, and the second is relationship. Those are often the driving forces to why somebody challenges and is willing to accept a challenge on who they are and what they believe. There's a truth out there, and there's a relationship that is better than any other relationship that you've ever had. And so as a ministry, as I get to meet these beautiful people come in, many times it's one or the other, if not both. If not both. As we come to talk to them, we come to understand, right? It could be, hey, I heard a sermon and it moved me in a way that I didn't expect. I came to your worship service one time and I was like, what is this craziness and why does it feel so right? Right? So there's things like that, right? Those are beyond what we do in the classroom. That is the Spirit of God working. Once they come in, and again, like our program is about a 13-week program of doctrinal teaching for the most part, okay? There's a doctrinal teaching. This is where we focus on truth. But we always say on the first day, like, this can't be about just being the smartest person in the room and knowing God intellectually, right? This has to be the place where you believe you are going to know Christ intimately, where you're going to have a relationship with God, and this is the relationship, and this is the flavor of relationship that you want. And if it's not, we give you the freedom to walk away. But what we believe we are giving you is the truth, and then when faced with truth, you have to make a decision. Right? And so that's often how and some who've come in who are getting engaged, Adam, I remember that very clearly, right? So Adam was getting engaged into the church, and I've even say this to the others coming in. You can't come baptized in this church because of your fiance. You've got to come into this church because you believe this is where you and your fiance will walk together with Christ. And if you aren't founded in that, Adam, walk away, right? And it's not from her, right? She's great. But this flavor might not be your flavor, right? But this is where you have to meet God, right? So we get into really personal and really real conversations from the very beginning, right? For our married friends here, right? They had to make a decision on whether not only for themselves, but also their families, right? This idea, this responsibility of claiming the faith for, obviously they'll all speak a little bit, but I just want to give you an idea that there's no one way in which we do this, right? We do doctrinal teaching, but we deal with everyone according to their life as they're coming in. So yeah, we've got theologians up here now. The stuff they understand is big time stuff, right? But I'm just kidding. But we talk about who God is. We talk about who the person of Jesus Christ is. We talk about what salvation means in the Orthodox concept, right? We talk about our liturgical worship. And all of that is founded on the relationship with God, because that's what keeps us intentional, right? Think about our own lives. What keeps me intentional in my life with Maggie is the relationship that we have, right? It guides the way that I live, the way I show up, because I want to be true to her and true to my kids. And it's true also about God. And so what we try to give our brothers and sisters here who come in is truth and relationship, because that's often what drove them to the doors for the most part. So, but we'll let them speak for themselves.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. I want to open it up to y'all. And obviously, in no particular order. Whoever feels inclined, I gave them no preparation for this. They don't know the questions that I'm going to ask them, and that's part of the beauty of the Holy Spirit, is that I put people on the spot and I let God do his thing. So I want to first start off this conversation by asking you all, what drew you to the Coptic Orthodox Church, and how has your life changed since joining it?
So I was drawn to the Orthodox Church through a dream, and I was from a non-Christian faith, and I had converted my husband to this non-Christian faith because that was my cradle. That's what I was born in. And then I had this crazy dream, and it went even further than that, to be specifically this church, so this Coptic Orthodox Church.
I'm going to ask you to tell us more about that. So just
The first dream I had, because when I first did the conversion, I just Googled like churches, because I don't know anything. I don't know. The first church that popped up was, I think it was Cornerstone. No, I think it was Cornerstone. It was in
Cornerstone's
Leesburg.
Cornerstone's a
And
big
I just
church.
went there, and it just felt kind of weird. I was like, okay. So I was asking God, like, they're talking a lot about politics, and there's concerts, and I'm like, this is just weird. So he was giving me a dream, and in the first dream, I walked in, and they kept doing this. And I've only seen that in movies. I didn't know what this meant. So I Googled it, and it was two religions, and I had 3 dreams doing that. And it was 2 religions. He was either Catholic or Orthodox. So I was like, okay. So I was like, I wish I could remember if it was this way or this way. But I couldn't remember. So
The important details, guys. The important.
I couldn't. So I just started going to both churches, like Catholic or, and I remembered actually Miriam over there. She babysits my daughter, and I remember she goes to an Orthodox church. So I asked her which one, and she told me about this one. So then how I knew it was this specific church, 2 things. I had a dream that I walked in somewhere, and 3 women surrounded me, exchanged numbers with me, and I sat down. The exact scenario happened when I came here. 3 women surrounded me, took my number, and I sat down. And it didn't hit me until after I sat down. And then I had the dream where I was doing this, and God like pushed my arm this way to this way. So I was like, okay, done. It's this specific church. So.
Glory to God. Anyone else want to jump in on that one?
How do we follow that?
It's a hard one. That's a tough one. We got 8 other questions, so don't worry.
Everyone's story is personal, and it's beautiful in its own way. So go ahead.
So I would say that I had never even heard of Orthodoxy until I met my now wife. And we actually met online, and I remember going through her profile, and it said that she was Oriental Orthodox, and I just thought, I have no idea what that is, but we're going to see where this goes. So that's how I originally got introduced to the church. It was about 2 weeks later that I met Matthew, because I stepped in the doors here one day. I just searched Coptic Orthodox in the area. This looked like it was the biggest one, and showed up here on a Saturday, and I just happened to run into Matthew's, your sister-in-law, who introduced me to you. And it's been a journey. It took until about February or so to really decide, okay, this is where we're going with our relationship, and I need to get more involved with the church and try to understand it a little bit more. And reached out to Matthew, and sure enough, he's like, perfect timing. 1 week from now, we're starting the next catechism class. Please join. So, all right, okay, God is leading me here. And when I started attending liturgies and Vespers, I was a little lost because it's a
Yes,
brand
he attends
new...
Vespers, ladies and gentlemen. He attends Vespers, right? Yes, that's a service from 7 to 7:30 p.m. on Saturdays. Just in case you all forgot about that.
And I learned it's Ashea and Tezbeha.
Ashea and
and
Tezbeha,
know the
midnight
names,
praise.
too. But I was a little lost at first, so I was worried because I loved this girl. I wanted to be with this girl, but I was like, is this really where God is leading me? So I prayed about it, and I prayed that God would reveal himself to me. And as time went on, I just felt God's presence more and more in my life and in the church, and it really has been a really beautiful journey ever since then. And we just got married 3 weeks ago, and 3 weeks ago today, so thank you.
And his wife, Christina's in the row right here, first row, jeans jacket. So welcome, Christina. Christina moved from Michigan to be here. So she's a new member of our community. So Adam and Christina, and big hand newlyweds.
I was going to say, if you embrace Adam, you have to embrace Christina, because they're one. She's not from here either, right? And sometimes we fall in that. But so yeah, absolutely. Welcome to Christina as well, and welcome to Adam. So yeah, Michigan. This is now your home. No more Michigan talk.
So for all of you, I just want to transition a little bit. Has there been a particular moment in your journey that you were like, ah, yes, I'm right where I need to be?
I'd say for me, I was going through one of the catechism recordings, and I was, taking my notes, doing all this, whatever. And it was about the Holy Spirit. And up until this point, I had always approached Orthodox with caution. I was kind of I was looking for something where it was like a warning, like a buzzer, like, this is not what I should be doing, this isn't anything I should be pursuing. But in that moment when I was watching this recording, I was listening to Matthew and Deacon Emmanuel. It was like all of that worry, all of that apprehension disappeared, and I could kind of see everything clearly. Like up until this whole point, my vision was like foggy. But after that moment, in that exact moment, it was like everything, I could see everything in perfect detail. And I knew exactly at this point that I wanted to be baptized. Because up until then, I was just going through the catechism classes. I just wanted to learn a little more about Orthodox. And I wasn't intending on baptizing myself, like getting baptized or anything. But at that moment, I made the decision, and I wanted to get baptized in that exact moment. And it was otherworldly. I wish you guys would experience something like that, but it was insane. It was insane. I wish.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So where it hit home for me, I guess, is in the liturgy, because of the faith that I was before, and I was very into that faith. I lost a lot converting. I lost family, I lost friends, but when I went to liturgy, it was very familiar to me, and I don't know if that's good or bad, but it felt familiar, like a lot of the same. And then I realized, like, this was way before. Yeah. The religion that I grew up in. So that's where they kind of took it from. But it was just the chanting and the taking off the shoes, the veils, everything. It just felt, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. But the main thing is the dreams, right? I'm obedient to the dreams. So I knew from the first conversion dream that I had that this is kind of where I was supposed to be.
Beautiful. Jacob, Caitlin.
Always so hard to follow. I also had a dream, although way less clear than I think Talia's was. And it was years and years ago. And I used to work with physicians. I still work with doctors. And I dreamed about a doctor that I had seen in the past for like a sinus infection or something. And in that dream, he was embracing me, and I felt the most transcendent love that I've ever felt in my life, conscious or, of course I was dreaming, so not conscious, but I knew I couldn't make sense of the dream at all. I had no idea why I was dreaming about this person that I'd seen twice in my life, but I knew without a doubt that was like a fraction of kind of God's love that I was feeling. And years and years and years passed, and I never really, kind of made any more sense of that dream, but it honestly was the first day that we visited, and Abuna Elijah, one of the things you said, and I'm sure you've said it maybe thousands of times in your career, but you said to us that the church, to think of God as a physician, and that the church is a place for, a hospital for the sick, and not, I think, a museum for saints.
Yeah, not a museum for saints.
And that for me was a major hook, and I went, and it dawned on me, and that kept me coming in the midst of obviously some confusion of what was going on and what I was witnessing, but it, I think, helped me make sense of maybe what I had experienced years ago in a dream.
Can I ask a quick question? When you walk in, maybe off the street or for the first time into a Coptic church, maybe specifically St. Mark's, what's going on in your mind? From whatever background, when you see the crowds and you hear the hymns and you see the priests and the icons and the smoke and the languages and like when you the incense, I shouldn't say smoke because there's could be mistaken for smoke machines. We don't have smoke machines. We actually have a manual machine. It's called a censer. So when I say that, like when you come in, and you could be blunt, you could be honest, no one's gonna be offended. What is your first impression in seeing something so, I think Josh said, otherworldly, which is a neat description.
Yeah, you can't go first. For me, it wasn't that. Sorry. it wasn't that odd of an experience. My academic background is all anthropology, so I'm very comfortable with different cultures, different settings, different things like that. So for me, individually, it wasn't odd. What appealed to me was that it was formalized in a way and ritualistic in a way that appealed. And I come from kind of a Protestant background, and I felt that that was so extremely casual in every way, in dress, in practice, in every kind of capacity that you could think of, that it made this feel more real, and that people meant it.
Yeah, we want to hear from you, Jacob.
Yeah. The question was, what was my sense of it?
First impression, you walk in on the street, you see 10,000 people in a church.
Right.
And
Yeah. I view things a little differently. So, especially when it comes to religion, when I go into a place, it's really how it feels with whatever connection I have with the Spirit at that time. I guess through what lens am I seeing and experiencing things. And so I try to quiet my rational mind as much as I can and be in tune with whatever it is that's going on inside. And so for me, it was just very open. And I think one of the things you said, if there's anything that challenges you or you find sort of uncomfortable or whatever, ask yourself why that might be. And is it your rational mind that is dissonant with these things, or is it something else? And there wasn't anything that I felt at the time was, challenging me in any sort of way that was meaningful. And what I mean by meaningful is that, it didn't challenge my faith or spirit or anything like that. It might have been confusing or hard to follow, but that's, God can be confusing and hard to follow sometimes. So
yeah. That's awesome. Anyone else want to jump in about first time walking into a Coptic church? What was that like for you?
For me, it was just a bit of a culture shock. Even just the incense, because I come from a Lutheran background where there's no incense anywhere, so even that by itself was a bit of a culture shock. And I came in on a Saturday morning, which was a huge culture shock to me because
Arabic liturgy.
Arabic
liturgy.
And so I'm just the white guy sitting in the back of the church, and that's kind of how it felt to me. But I wanted to give it a shot, and I wanted to give it a fair shot and see more of it, and that's what really opened me up more to it.
So I guess the question for you guys is, what has been the most challenging aspect of transitioning to this church? Like, from prior experiences, what's been the thing that has been oh, okay, this is a little bit difficult. I'm learning, or I'm swallowing something, or maybe it's not. I'm painting it in a negative lens for my own. Yeah, maybe it's been smooth.
It wasn't smooth for me. I lost everybody and everything to come to this, to be a Christian in general. So the conversion dream that I had was a big dream. It wasn't just like a dream. There was a physical aspect to that dream. I don't want to get too deep into it because it's a bit fantastical, but my actual body was marked with a cross, and it lasted for over a week. I was very Muslim, so I'll just put it out there. I was never going to convert. I could have heard 100 sermons. I could have talked to 100 people. But that is what changed me. So when that happened, my family was like, oh, it's a demon, it's a jinn, it's, it's like, what are you, you're crazy. But I automatically knew. So from that point, I lost everything and everyone to come to the faith. So for me, it was extremely difficult, and it continues to be.
I can contrast that because there was no big sort of thing. I think the hardest thing was prior, which was sort of being resigned to not having a spiritual home, and that was the hardest thing. I was baptized Roman Catholic. I went to Catholic high school. I was always at odds with the priests philosophically. So I was like, right. And so for me, my religious journey is more one of like, well, okay, if you're going that way, I'm going to go this way, and I'll see you guys later, sort of thing. And to finally find a place where there's history and ritual to it that doesn't seem to have changed much in the past thousands of years.
Yep.
You can kind of like peer around the priest, and you can look back in time, and you can see, okay, this is something that, like, as long as I'm here with it, it's not going to leave me. I'll have to leave it. And that was a comforting experience to say, okay, like, I have a seat here, and it's not going to change that much,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So.
I'd say for me, I grew up in a non-denominational house, so I've been going to non-denominational churches pretty much my whole life, and I was never solid in my faith until I graduated high school, and then I started, exploring other churches, other Protestant, Baptists, and all these churches, it's like the same thing. It's like, 3 worship songs, 45-minute sermon, and then you go home, and then it's just back to normal, right? And so I think for me, I had been so used to that coming into Orthodox. One of the most beautiful things about Orthodoxy is that everything is so unique. All the rituals, all the prayers, but the one thing, like, for someone new to it is that it's just so much to learn. So that's been the most difficult part for me, I'd say, is just kind of grappling with all of this new information and knowledge that I feel like I should know to be participating in. So that's just how it's been for me.
Again, this wasn't planned, so I'm thankful that you just made that point. Is like, guys, the transition is difficult. The transition is really difficult, right? There's a language barrier, there's a cultural barrier, there is just a when do I stand, when do I sit barrier, right? There's all kinds of like these, and so we have to be sensitive to that. And we means all of us. Like, it really is our responsibility. Like, what I believe about blessing genuinely is blessing is a responsibility, because blessing is something God gives you for the purpose of using for his good. So when we as a church are blessed to have this church, then we also have the responsibility to use it for the kingdom of God, to use it for good. We can't let our brothers and sisters who come in here, right, and like just faith, and that's whether they've cradled or not, right? This is really not about being baptized, okay? We have a responsibility to each other. If this is a blessing that we want to continue to live in and continue, then we have to take care of each other, okay? And I say that because in the past, through this ministry, like, one of the things we weren't very good at is once they were baptized, we always would be like, well, the church family is going to embrace them. And for a time they do, because they're the newest face on the block. They're the white boy, right? The white girl, right? Whatever they are. They look different, and so we recognize them for a week or two. But that's actually not when it gets challenging. It gets challenging year 1, year 2, right? When we all go through the spiritual struggles that we're all going through. When we're all fighting about fasting and prayer and those things, right? So we can't just take it for granted that now that they're in, they're in. No, we have to. And so as a ministry, we're trying to do that, right? As a ministry, we're trying to now continue. Surprise! Well, you guys probably know this already, right? But your catechism is ongoing. Like, you come and we come together and we talk about the Orthodox life, right? And that's a place where all of us can really participate. So my prayer and my request to all of you is, let's get involved. We can't just be happy that 15 people came in. We have to embrace the 5 kids, put them in our Sunday school, take care of them, make sure that our families are being cared of, our new couples are cared. By the way, they all got married too. We had 3 couples get married on that day, right? So the challenges of marriage, plug them into our family ministries, plug them into if we're going to be a blessed church, that means we're going to be a responsible church. Yes. And so we can't leave them just because now that they're in, we can't assume that it's all good, because we know for ourselves it can be difficult.
So segueing off that, actually, that's a really good point that Matt made. What would be advice that you'd give somebody walking off the streets? Like, say, for example, one of your friends finds out that you recently joined the Coptic Orthodox Church, what is like your, just FYI, before you step foot into this church, what would you prep somebody for? Because I think it'd be good for us to hear it as well. Like, how should we prepare ourselves also as well? It's a hard question, I know.
I mean, I guess the incense, right? I know that I've had like some people that have come that are American, and they're instantly taken. Like it's a lot for them. I mean, not for
And
me.
I put a lot. We like to.
Yeah, but I love it, you know. But it's strong. Like it's strong for them. Like it's strong for them. Not for me or anybody that you know, but for the American people, I feel like it's a lot for them. And then what did stick out to me was the icons. Like that was definitely, I was taken aback by that. I mean, because I had never seen that, and I was taught something about that. So, and correlating that with idols and getting my mind around that and seeing, and so I had to really, I think that would be something that would stand out to even a Protestant that would come in, is the amount of icons and the meaning.
Okay. Anything else?
I think I would recommend really paying attention and watching. I know for myself in sort of Protestant experiences that I would kind of tune out, or I would focus on the kids, or I would try to, hush them up a little bit. But I think particularly here in Orthodoxy, it seems like there are so many nuanced things that happen, and each of them has a meaning. And I've only started to, learn a fraction of what all of this means, but there really is nothing that I've seen that I realize doesn't have a meaning. There is a reason behind all of it. And so it can be an overwhelming experience for someone just coming in off the street, but if you really kind of watch, you'll have questions and you'll, start to figure things out a little bit.
So for me, I was blessed by a really solid group of people who kind of ushered me into the church, kind of explained everything as I went.
Big shout out to the campus ministries and our big shout out, honestly, big shout out to our youth who are ambassadors of Christ in their colleges, in their communities. I can't tell you how many people are like Josh that have been brought into the church through their friends and through the witness of our college youth. So really, God bless, may the Lord protect our college youth. Sorry, I just needed to.
But my first time coming here, it was a sermon, a Friday night sermon, and the college kids, they immediately recognized I was new. So, I introduced myself. They kind of took me under their wing, showed me around, showed me the sanctuary, took me behind the altar, kind of explained everything, and listened to all my long list of questions, especially about the icons. But I just say you have to get to know people who are very theologically versed. And I was very blessed to have a lot of the college kids. They kind of put up with all my questions, and mentors, of course, who could guide me along my journey. But it's a lot for just one person to do on their own. You just need a network of people that can help you along.
And piggybacking on that, my person has been a college kid too, just FYI. So and I'm old, so thank you.
Beautiful.
I love our college kids, for sure. I mean, I love them to death. And so, it's something Josh said just really rung in my heart, and it's something I feel compelled, right? This idea of a theologian, right? I promise you, being a theologian is not about understanding God here. Being a theologian is about having relationship with God. Yes. And if you have relationship with Him, you can talk about God because you know Him and because you have relationship with Him. We are not trying to make smart people who are going to go on YouTube and be able to defend the faith. We don't care about those people. We love them, but that's not what we're building up. We are building up people who love God. And the college, if you love God, then your college is changed because of your love for God. Okay? And this church, because you love God, this city is changed because of your love for God. This room is full of theologians. If your prayer, the church teaches us that the theologian is the one who prays. Okay? So if you've got a prayer life, you've got a connection to God. You don't need to be eloquent. You don't need to be smart. You don't even ever need to say a word. You preach the gospel at all times, and when necessary, use words. Okay, that's what being a theologian is, okay? So we need to intentionally live that out. Live out the love of God that you have in you. Live it out. Why? Right? And it's not just what we do here. It's what we do here equips us for what we do out there. And we live the same way in here and out there. And that's what changes Josh's life. And that's what changes Adam's life. That's what changes every one of these people's lives. And that's what changes each other's lives. It's the intentionality of the relationship that we have. And that's the thing that I'm learning most in this is like, what I say on Friday, what we teach on Fridays, is impacting these people very little. It's confirming some stuff, it's confirming the truth, but what's impacting them is the theologians amongst us who are living their relationship with God. So please keep doing that.
I want to add to that. The best part about this is that there's no like one person that did it. It is a church family that somebody brought them in, somebody welcomed them. I remember I spoke to Adam and I said, what was your experience? He's like, I was welcomed so much. And maybe Adam, you can talk into that, but like that feeling of welcome into our home versus be careful. Be careful of the same question. Hey, how are you? How was your week? How's work? Everything good? All right, take care. Hey, how was your week? Same thing over and over and over again. No, like break the barriers. Get to know them as people. Because just like we struggle with our sins and our struggles and our emotions, whatever, same thing. And this is where, and I love that Jacob said that I was looking for a home. And so it's not a house, it's a home. And this is where it's a family, and we have to have that. So keep that in mind, that you are all part of the conversion. There's no star here. Everybody has taken part, whether it be the coffee or the greeting or the love or making the college youth who made him feel at home. I think that's all very, very, very important, and we cannot do our mission for the kingdom of God without the whole body. Okay.
Well, I think that's a perfect transition to the next question. What advice would you all have to us? Like, if you all could tell us as your family now, what advice do you have for us that we can sort of hold to heart?
One of the things that I heard a lot from people who were born into this church was a sense of sort of longing for the experience to be baptized when you're older, so that you might remember that experience or something like that. And I don't mean to speak for those people knowing that what that might be like, but I can tell you from someone who does remember it, that yes, it was emotionally and cognitively amazing to go through that experience. My spiritual journey is no less smoother because I did it later. I have, the sort of same understanding of God and my faith that I did before I went into the pool. The same person I was is still back there. And so while I understand, wanting a different perspective on something, you have a bunch of converts here that can tell you what that perspective might be like. And we're more than willing to share that story. But in terms of, again, it was an amazing emotional and rational day, but, and it was amazing to be welcomed home spiritually. But we're gonna share the same struggles. It's just that the house that we go to is, I don't know, it's more full. Yeah.
It's an Egyptian house.
Right. It's a fuller place.
Yeah.
And it connects more singularly with me. And I don't have to worry about leaving it.
I would say advice, making sure that, and you all did do this, so this is not, that we all have spiritual mentors. That's really important. I think because after you get baptized and everything, like who do I talk? I mean, obviously we go to you guys for confession and everything else, but on a more of a day-to-day or things like that, hey, this just happened, or just like how should I handle this situation at work even? If, like hooking us up with someone, yeah, that would be awesome.
But we need, in order to connect people with mentors, we need mentors. We need people that actually live the faith and believe the faith and are, like Matthew was saying earlier, are people who pray, and people who pray have all the wisdom in the world to give to those who are in need, because their dialogue with the divine allows them to have divine answers. And I think that's the real thing for all of us, right? Like we think that there is a special group of people that have the answers, but it's really a person of prayer, like Matthew was saying, that has the answers because they've connected and they've sought the divine for every answer that they need.
I think one thing that I would say for this church, because I think this church does a really excellent job of welcoming new people, because it wasn't just Matthew or Nancy or the Abunas. It was everybody. I remember coming to the Easter cookout, and there was a couple of young kids that came up and talked to me because they recognized me from the baptism day. So it's a little bit of everybody. So I would say a caution against becoming complacent, because I've been to now a couple of different Coptic churches, and there are some that are they're just so used to having their group of people there that it's almost like they didn't know what to do with a new person that came in. And I've gone into a church, been there for the entire liturgy, and left and had not a single other person talk to me. And, I'm fine with that. It didn't hurt my feelings, but I'm just saying I think that that's what makes this church really special, is the fact that, 10, 20, 30 people want to say hi to you and get to know you. And it's not even just a, hey, how are you? It's a, where did you come from? How did you get introduced to the church? And it's all these different things. They actually want to get to know you, and it was really special.
You also want to ask Adam for his tailor and his dread. The guy's always sharp.
I guess I'll finish off with this final question. What makes you all not want to go anywhere else? Like now that you've found home, like what's like this is my glue? I know besides dreams, Talia, like.
I was gonna give you that. I'm just obedient because I know that was the Lord that spoke to me.
Yeah.
So I'm not going anywhere. And so.
Because I think people will say, we've had in this church many converts that came in, and then after a period of time, like Father Paul was saying, after years, or Matthew was saying, after years, people lost touch with them. They didn't check up on them, didn't really care for them, and they just went to other churches. So what keeps you all here, irrespective of the people, irrespective of how kind the Abunas are, irrespective, and I'm not giving myself a pat on the back, but irrespective of the servants, like what keeps you here?
Christina and I had a lot of discussion about where we wanted to be, because we knew pretty much instantly when we met each other that we were going to be together. And we talked a lot about, was that home going to be Michigan, was it going to be here, or was it going to be somewhere else entirely? And I would say the thing that really solidified us choosing this area was this church, and I think a big part of that was just we felt like the church was just so alive. There was just so much life in this church, and we could really view starting a family and having a family here, raising kids here. And it's, Christina had to leave her own family to be here, and my family is not Coptic, and part of my family is not even really Christian, but it was just the fact that this church has such a vibrant and just full of life community. That's really what brought us here, and I think is what's going to keep us here, at least for quite some time.
Anyone else want to jump in about that?
So I think there is a sense of a much, much, much stronger foundation here, and that's immutable. And it shapes so much of the day-to-day worship, the life of the church, and I think in a way that's not performative too. I want to say that because I think I've experienced a lot of that, and there's an emptiness that comes with a performative kind of rehearsal of something that you can tell people don't really believe in, and I get the opposite of that here. And I think I think there is a real authenticity that I've found and I've felt among the Abunas, and how humble and their humility, and that transcends through the church. I feel like they set a tremendous example of that I haven't seen before. And in fact, I felt the opposite before. And I think that it's more than just them being nice or being welcoming. It really does influence how open people are with one another and how humble the sort of congregation is. And that really feels different to an outsider coming in.
For me, the people are great here. I love everyone here. Everyone is so welcoming. Everyone's so friendly. But what really changed, what really put Orthodoxy on my radar is when I first came, when I was first behind the altar, looking at all the relics, everything there, I could feel an undeniable, intense presence of God back there. And I'd felt this before, but that's not to say that this isn't in, any of the non-denominational churches I've been with my family, but here it was intense. It was like I was with him. And I have that same feeling every time I'm in liturgy, I'm sitting in the pews, especially now that I'm taking communion. It's an insane feeling, but that's the one thing for me, At the non-denominational churches, he's there, God's there, but in this Orthodox church, I feel that he's with me at all times. So
Beautiful.
that's the one thing I just love about this church.
I want to add something. A lot of them made it very clear that it wasn't an emotional experience. And I learned this a long time ago. We can try to sell them, right? I can try to manipulate into joining the church. And maybe it could work, maybe you're convinced, you feel good, you love Abuna, and so we actually make a conscious effort to just present the church the way it is, versus, again, trying to manipulate you into feeling good and feeling and just hiding all the bad stuff and presenting all the good stuff. Something that I think that I want you to understand that has made this journey real for them is that it wasn't a created emotional experience. Josh's description right now is on his own. He went, he saw some relics, he's smelled some things, he saw some things, and he felt from within what nobody tried to convince of. And I make it very, very a big point in welcoming, whatever, but the last thing I want to do is convince you so that I just played with your emotions for a few minutes. I got you, I reeled you in, and now good luck. No, because it's not like a sale or a commit. It's something that you are experiencing on your own. I want everyone to understand that.
Can actually add something to that. On the weekend of our festival, this is just a little bit of a note to self. There was people that were here that were from the outside, and somebody particularly called me and said that they brought a friend to this church, and somebody came up to them and tried to convince them that their faith was wrong and why they should become Orthodox. That's not the approach we want to take. We do not want to convince somebody and they never want to come back to our church again. So in the midst of all the beautiful things that we are doing, right, God is working, the way that we bring people into the fold is not by telling them that they are wrong or that and being judgmental about where they came from. Just come and see. Come and see. That's the message of our church. Come and see. We are not trying to sell you anything. We're not trying to, add new members to our church. We have 10,000 people, right? There's so many people in this church. We're not lacking. But what we want to do is we want to be authentic in presenting the faith to people without making anyone feel judged in any shape, way, or form. And that, to me, ladies and gentlemen, is the most important thing that our church can do. Anyone who walks into the door, don't tell them that where they're coming from is wrong. Just tell them, welcome. What are your questions? We'd love to have you as part of our church. But the last thing that people be is oh, you came from this church? Well, let me tell you, in the Council of Nicaea, actually, this is what happened. Nobody wants to hear that. And believe me, that's not what brings people into the fold.
I hate piggybacking, but I just think it's such an important point. We give them the freedom to walk away. Just like Christ, God gave the freedom to Adam and Eve, gives the freedom to every one of us, right? Just because you even come through the catechism does not mean you are going in the water, right? What it means is this is the place where you're committed to learning. And everyone who comes in the door has the freedom to accept on their own or to say, that's not for me. We've had some people come and say, I love what you guys do here. It's not for me. God bless you, man. We love you. That's okay, right? Like that's okay. Never once, and I hope, and again, like I'm speaking. If I'm misspeaking, please. Never once have we tried to ever put somebody in a place where they have to feel bad or ashamed of who they are, how they come, what they're coming with, everything that, right? This place, as we've said, and we'll continue to say because it's the truth, is a hospital. Our job is to heal, and our job is to bring people to the physician, right? The physician heals. So our job is not to heal. Our job is to bring the people in front of the physician so he can heal them. Sometimes we say, meet the physician. And some people are like, I don't like that physician, man. His bedside manner does, you know, right? Okay? Our job is to, but we always accept everyone who comes into the doors with love, right? And they have the freedom to accept or not accept and to walk out, and we love them nonetheless. And our door is always open to them. So I want you to know that not everyone who comes in, it's not like this machine, right? It's a very personal experience for everyone. And God, in His time, starts it, works through it, and completes it. We're just tools.
Yeah, amen.
Right? So that's all I wanted.
We want to just thank all of you for being part of this panel. And we echo it again, welcome home. Welcome home. Just 'cause I know people have to pick up their kids from Sunday school. So
Let's stand up and pray. You guys can come down. Stand here. Stand here.